My black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white. Yeah, it's black and white. We're just black and white. It's my black and white. It's my black and white scarf.
Hello, and you're very welcome to the Town End podcast. It's season 5, episode 14. Well, the game that was, I suppose, tabled as the table toppers, the top 1 and 2 going at each other in the top of the first division, really lived up to that bill as they went hammer and tongue, and it only took a deep into added time equaliser from Benny Arubi to get something out of this game. To go through it, this may take a little while. We're joined by Gally tonight, who's finally getting a comment in, setting the nerves.
You need one after that.
Yeah. Look, we've sat here and said, oh, there's another team that sat in against us. This was the opposite of what we had seen in the first division. We'd finally seen a team come out and attack us. I was on a roller coaster of emotions. I was happy that we got the equaliser, but being against 10 men, you're disappointed to not go and take all the points. But the fact that they scored, with nearly on the 90-minute mark, you I don't know where to go. It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah, and when you consider we played, with the previous Bray, on the Astro that night, and
yeah.
I think we even mentioned it, maybe tongue. I'll pretend it was tongue in cheek now, but we kind of wondered how they even made the playoffs last year. And obviously, maybe I didn't pay a lot. I'd hold my hands up. We weren't obviously paying where we were last year. We weren't paying a lot of attention to the first division, I suppose. But they've obviously kicked on, and maybe look, I think they've gone a lot of games unbeaten over the last couple of weeks, and we've just hit them at a time when they're playing really fluid football. I mean, look, it's probably, when you consider the players Bray have had over the years, it's probably one of the better teams that we've seen at Oriel Park. I know we haven't played them too much over the last kind of 6 or 7 seasons, but I mean, of what we've seen, it's definitely one of the better footballing teams that we've seen from Bray. And like you said, we expected kind of a Fortress Oriel night where teams would come and sit in, but when we talk
like the opposite of that.
Yeah, and we mentioned it. I haven't been on for a couple of weeks. We mentioned it even earlier in the season. Like, Dundalk have been in danger of being that team where people fancy the draw, because we've drawn 5 games. We've been leading in most of them, if not all of them, and teams aren't really, that fear factor haven't really got it yet. So maybe Bray came tonight and said, well, we've nothing really to lose. The AstroTurf doesn't play a part anymore because our home games are on AstroTurf, so, and probably a newer AstroTurf than what we're used to. So yeah, they've grabbed the game by the horns, and both teams have, in fairness, but Bray definitely a bit more football in that we were probably giving them respect for. And but yeah, I thought they were definitely a different team that we didn't maybe, well, I suppose not maybe Kieran Clough and Ken Kieran would have predicted, but definitely the fans and us watching it, definitely a better football team than I gave them respect for. Yeah, I gave them credit for.
Look, we'll go into James's question in a second. A few changes thrown in there, a few we definitely did not see coming. Endemino, great to see him back on the bench tonight. Obviously, it looked like Killer was just trying to get him back used to maybe match day experience, put him on the bench and get him introduced to everything again slowly. Owen Kenny starting over Dean Ebe up front. Obviously, it changed then later on, but that was a strange move. We knew Harry Groom, after going off injured in the last match, was probably not going to be available for this. That turned out to be doing, and obviously Ade Irvine serving his match suspension meant there was going to be some sort of a change in the middle of the park. In comes Wardy and Shane Tracy, who I thought had another solid performance again. And that might not even be the ones we mentioned. Might not even be the big kind of highlight in this. But we see Keogh and we see McHale in the team. But it turned out McHale was at left back and Sean Keogh was further up the pitch. I mean, I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, I think even the way the lineup came up on the Dundalk page, I think you just assume that you're playing maybe 2 pivot roles, 2 CDMs, and see how we go. But yeah, it was definitely a surprise. It almost looked at times, if you turned on the game at any stage, it actually looked like you were playing 3 at the back. If you had to turn it on and not seen the lineup or not seen the game, it actually looked like times you were playing 3 at the back all the time. But you can only assume that the Sean Keogh pushing forward was kind of to maybe let Owen Kenny give a ball to Owen Kenny to run into, and maybe that's the thinking behind it. The way the league has gone this year, I mean, it's a stranger that Dean Eby doesn't start. Obviously, it's going to be even stranger now when we talk about a Ruby not coming on earlier. But yeah, look, it's maybe you're taking a bit of pace. I suppose if you judge it off the last game that we played Bray, I could understand the own Kenny. But then if you look at the results of what Bray have had over the last couple of weeks, you need someone who's probably not proven. I don't mean Owen Kenny's not proven, but Dean Nebby, First Division, that's his kingdom. This is his ballpark, and starting the game, I don't know whether he has the impact coming off the bench that he would have starting the game and setting the tone and keeping the defenders busy. And don't get me wrong, Owen Kenny's an excellent player, but that little bit of experience maybe tonight made a difference. But we're talking in hindsight now. We're talking an hour after the match.
Yeah,
if, it gets us 1-0 up, 2-0 up, then that's we're probably having a different conversation. But yeah, look, this is the rules of the joys of coaching and management. You're going to get ridiculed for if results don't go your way. And look, it's a draw. We're still unbeaten. It could have been very, very different, and Bray would probably feel it should have been. But yeah, definitely a few changes, a few surprises. McHale is probably. I actually find Kenny starting probably stranger, really. I mean, when you think about it. We expected, like you said, to probably play it in the middle of the park, but left back with Joe pushing forward. Look, it's I suppose
that nearly paid off straight away, Gally, in the sense that, and I think that it was a penalty. It looked like Sean Keogh was tripped into the box in the opening 5 minutes. That whole move nearly paid off immediately.
Yeah, and that's the we're talking about fine margin the first couple of minutes. It's definitely a penalty. You don't even need to see the replay on it. I mean, and the refs had one or two fouls.
But you could see a replay.
Yeah, he gave. We did tonight. Yeah, but the referee tonight, not to get on to him too early. We talk about the red card later on, but some fouls that weren't fouls, little things that it always goes back to League of Ireland stuff. But yeah, it's we talk about the lineup. That's when it works, when you've got moments like that. But then if you don't, if you're not getting the rub of the green with kind of formations like that or selections like that, somewhere along the line, if you don't put it to bed early, like in fairness, we've gone 1-0 up, but again, we've been clawed back in, and maybe someone like a Dean Nebby, a bit more experience, to hold up the ball a bit more, maybe not to be so panicky, maybe not to be so, Dean Nebby, I suppose, is one of those players that he's not hell-bent on getting a goal. He knows it'll come to him if he gets a full game and gets a full run of it, whereas Owen might be a little bit kind of snatching at the bit. So, there's no real right or wrong. I suppose if you're basing off the last thing you played Bray, I completely understand, but then it's difficult when we're talking about these draws that we're getting in these matches, and we really hope the gap that we used to have. I say, for instance, the gap that we created has now completely sunk in, and we're now playing Cove next week. That's now tighter at points than it really shouldn't be, and that's a really kind of stick wicket now next Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. That's the disappointing thing that, as I say, we've done so well to get this lead, and it's been slowly ebbed away, and it's games that we probably feel that we've left a little bit there that we could have done something more on, and that's probably the disappointing part.
But we've had that so many times this season, haven't we?
That's
left something out. I mean, it's 5 draws already. We've been winning all of them. I think pretty much all of them, and we just seem to be just not. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know, but we definitely have it in us to go and win a game, but we just seem to be. And look, we're unbeaten. We're top of the league. Look, we can't be giving it too much. But they just need to get that over. That's going to become a thing. It's going to become like a twitch that they have, where teams will get on them, and it's going to be something that might prove very negative later in the summer, where you don't really want them results. You want to be fit putting teams to bed early, not early, but over 90 minutes. You fancy yourself. Dean Irishman, first time texter in it. Well done. New to the show. Welcome, Dave.
We should give him a pizza for his first time.
But yeah, it's just something you don't want creeping in and becoming a habit. And I'm sure, look, the boys know on the sideline know more than anyone. You don't want that creeping into your game. You'd expect a little bit more and a bit more against, especially where we are in the league and the experience we have on the pitch. Sometimes I think they'll maybe overthinking
it. I mentioned to Kieran post match there about lads taking their chance. It looked like McHale really had taken his chance. Recycled ball back out, but wow, he hits it with aplomb, doesn't he?
There is nothing. I said it before. I don't know whose goal it was scored. I don't know if it was Keogh or maybe somebody last season. There's nothing sweeter than a perfect strike with a left foot. There really isn't. I mean, there's something about a left-footed player who catches a ball on the full that is just absolutely. Dane Massey would have had it a couple of years ago as well, but
left foot across the box looks perfect though, doesn't it? Absolutely.
And then you've got the little thing from Ward before is excellent as well, because you can see what he wants to do with it, but it's just not getting on the end of it. And it just, the defender really can't do anything else. I mean, if he had his time again, he probably clears it for a corner, but no defender does that. You just automatically head it back. You don't probably expect the first time hit. But it's absolutely sweet. And like anywhere else, it's a save. You can only score where it goes in. Really, I mean, our top bins, but that side of the goal, he's absolutely nailed it. And it's a cracking strike. It really is. It's as sweet as they get. I mean, the only thing that probably could have been better if I had been the top bins. But I mean, you're really.
Let's give him that though. Let's give him what he got.
Really taken away from it here, but an excellent strike, an absolute excellent strike.
Then comes the disappointment, I suppose, of conceding a goal back in there. We're probably thinking that's a half we probably need to see out. It seemed like a switch just kind of went off in Bray, and they started to get a little bit of confidence out of what they were doing. I think when Kieran and Ken go and look back on this, the thing that's going to really disappoint them is what happened just before we actually gave away these goals. They're needless free kicks.
Yeah.
It's pushing over. It's being caught on the wrong side. We're being, dispossessed of the ball. There's silly little mistakes that we need to cut out and be, in particular, I'm thinking next year and if and when we can progress like that, you got to cut these little things out because these will come back to haunt you. And they even come back to haunt you in the first division as well. We give away a silly free kick. It's lofted in there and it's a header at the back. Then, Killian Cantwell, it's that player that, Steph McKevitt was waxing lyrical all last year talking about if you could get anyone from Bray, it's him. We should have known he was the target man, big man in there as well. I think it's disappointed. It's hung in there. There's a chance to defend that. It's an obvious target as well. It's a good header by Killian, but I think overall Ken and Kieran will be disappointed when they look back on that.
Yeah, and I think it's come in from a distance as well. It's coming more from the sideline. So it
did, yes, where the free kick was right in the side,
Yeah, it's come like a fair distance. And I don't know who mentioned, it might have been Frank. Peter Cherry's kind of a wee bit off the line. I don't think he's massively at fault, not at fault, but
I think it was John
his stance, John Sharkey, sorry. His stance is a little bit off. He is right, but at the same time, he's got up between two defenders, and he's actually got a free header. The two defenders are actually moving towards him, so he's actually gotten up free, and then the defenders have spotted him. I know one of them is Mio. I don't know who the other. It could be Finney. I don't know who it is, but he's actually got a free header, and then they're kind of only moving towards him and they see him jump, which is disappointing. But I mean, you take nothing away from the header. Like again, it's like McHale's goal. If he heads it anywhere else, it doesn't go in. It's he's picked his spot. It's gone across the body of the goalkeeper. It's a crack. It's a great delivery, but it's coming from such a long distance. Look, it's disappointing, but I mean, again, you can see, you could probably argue if that's all you do in a game, concede from a set piece and you can score on the far end, score 2 or 3, then that's fine. But when Dundalk have been the way to go, I think we played 14. I think they conceded in 7 games. So we're 50, but I think we conceded in 7 matches.
8 goals conceded after tonight now. We're 6 going into this.
Look, it's only that. I mean, we're still top of the league, but those type of little things, because you're not conceding screamers. You don't want to be conceding if you can keep your set pieces right.
But silly fouls given away in the first place.
Yeah.
Like crazy. Kieran mentioned the goal that Bray went ahead in his post-match interviews, and he just said, we're in possession of the ball and we're up the other end of the pitch. Next minute, the ball's stolen from us and we give away a free kick, and then they get, a goal to go ahead in the game. Also, in this one, for the equaliser, I think when they look back on it, they'll be disappointed that we've taken the lead and we've allowed Bray into the game. And then, like you just said there, Bray are waiting to get these sort of set pieces with someone like Cantwell in there. They want to be able to angle a ball straight in on top of him. So don't give them the ammunition to do that. I think that's what they'll be disappointed. We're showing a naivety. And maybe that's also when you think about how young the squad is and some of the lads that's playing, there's probably an element of naivety that goes along with that. But these are the things we got to learn. If you want to win this division and go up through the automatic playoff spot or promotion spot and not go through the playoffs, these are the things you got to cut out, because that's a difference of 3 points tonight in the end. Yeah,
and especially coming off the back of the last result as well. And like we said it earlier on in the season, if you're going to learn a little bit of physicality and kind of hanging in there and being tough, the first division is where you get it. The Premier Division is excellent, don't get me wrong. But if you're going to learn your craft and you're going to come into it like it's Shane Tracy or whatever it may be, even Sean Keogh playing last year as well, I know, but these lads are going to step up to the mark. First division is probably the better place to learn it, because you learn a harsh reality in the Premier Division, but first division will give you that bite for it.
Yeah.
But that kind of, look, the delivery's great, but the fact that he's been able to jump unopposed, not between two defenders, but nobody's picking him up, and two of them have had to go to him, which creates space inside the goal to Cherry's right. So it's a bit naivety, like you're saying. But you don't mind seeing them too often, I suppose, if that's the right terminology. But because you've drawn the game, it just magnifies everything. You know, you've given away a stupid goal. You know, you've given probably, you know, they've got half, even in the second half, they've got half chance in the second half when they're down to 10 men, which you shouldn't really have.
No.
And, you know, that's just a little bit of experience. You know, we're 14 games in, you know, we're told the way through probably. You got to get that kind of, that itch out of the way, because people will pick that off. People will see you as they come, because, again, we're drawn again in a lead position. I know it's early in the game, but, you know, when you come to Oriel Park, you shouldn't be expecting to even get a sniff on goal. Never mind score twice, and one of them with 10 men.
Yeah, I was actually just looking back at that goal there, and I think Mayo, out of the corner of his eyes, notices Cantwell coming in. I think it's Vinnie Leonard with him.
Yeah.
So he tries to lean back in to reach that ball, but it's and it hasn't been. He's not going to get it on time.
Yeah, and it's not like it's whipped in. It's not like it's taken an all tone all of a sudden. It's just nicely. It should be really,
nicely floated for Cantwell.
Yeah, and it's a real good height. It's a good height for a striker, but it's also a good height for a good centre back. You know, a centre half wants to get up and head the ball, and it's just disappointing. Yeah, it's disappointing.
So we go in 1-1 at half time. I suppose we're probably not overly surprised in how we played first versus second half, but that Kenny's is taken off and Dean Ebbe comes in. I think we were calling up for a bit more hold-up play. I think Stevie McDonald on co-coms just said it. It's playing his back to goal is not Owen's game.
Yeah.
Owen's better at coming on to a ball, like where we've seen him, or inside that 6-yard box. I think you mentioned before that goal against Longford. That kind of pouncing on those chances is definitely Owen's game. Towards, I suppose, Dean Ebbe's is a bit more happy to be part of the build-up play and get himself into the box. I think once or twice maybe he might have drifted a little too far out, and we didn't have a target man in the box. But I'm sure that's something we can work on later on. It was mentioned just before sending off, I think in the first half, you know, when the way this referee was reffing, that you kind of had to be careful, because he could be card happy on certain tackles, and I think you mentioned it. Certain ones he was letting go at the same time. There could have been a card, and then other ones he was flashing a card for it. Any surprise with Doyle getting sent off? It looked like he was on that tightrope, and I think Stephen McDonald mentioned he knew the player, and he can be a little bit hot-headed, and he needed to be careful, or a yellow card was coming. As soon as I seen the first tackle with Mayowa, and he kind of uses physicality, he gets out of that. And as a result, the ball's stretching for it. And I always thought, looking at the stride of Mayo, it's bloody huge. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
He was always going to get there first. And then when I seen Doyle, I was like, whoa, this could be a problem for him now, because, you know, like, I don't think the gamble was worth it. Post-match, I think Heffernan, the Bray manager, thought he felt it was a bit harsh. Personally speaking, I don't think if you're on a yellow card, don't try to lunge into those challenges. That's
the thing. It's as a foul, like if he's got no cards, it's a harsh yellow. But because he's gotten booked, look. I mean, if you had VAR, I suppose you look back. But I mean, even at that, it's such a silly thing to do. Where it is in the pitch as well, you know, you don't need to go in like that. I mean, once you lead with the foot, you're asking for trouble. Because Mayo, whether he's gone down, it doesn't really matter. He's expecting to be hit. So, like, it's just that, and it's such a crazy time of the game and a crazy place in the match to do it. John Sharkey will be able to tell us better as a referee. I'm sure he'll be able to comment on more on it. But, you know, in real time, look, it's all right saying when we have it. Now, to me on the camera, it doesn't warrant a red card, I suppose. But because you're already booked, like, I mean, I don't think you give a yellow for it. But it's just one of them. Like he's obviously a marked man. There's probably one in every team. If they haven't, probably ours. You know, like there's players who have marked people, but referees, whether they admit it or not, they've always got somebody in the back of their mind who they're expecting to do something during the match. And unfortunately, it's just been him tonight. I think it's slightly harsh, but at the same time, you can't really argue, because if you're stupid enough to do that,
that's the problem, isn't it?
You know, and like, you know, it's just a crazy thing to be at. And like you say, he probably, well, it's not that he should expect Mayo to be quick across the ground, but he's probably not expecting to be, because you can't, because if a player's running fast, you expect him to be quick to you, but if they've got a massive stride, you almost look like they're coming in slow motion until they're on top of you, and then he's just lunged in. He's probably regretted as soon as he put his foot out, but I think he knew himself. I mean, he can give it all he likes, but I think he knew himself. John, he didn't. Yeah, John's right. Like, there's no contact whatsoever. You can tell, but you can argue if, look, Mayo's died. I don't know, but maybe he's expecting the contact, but you can't lunge like that. You can't, especially when you're booked already. You give the referee kind of, and the thing that built up to the ref as well. When a ref, like, I don't know, I'm only saying, in League of Ireland terms, when he doesn't give fouls and he has the time to think about it 20 seconds later, that should have been a foul. So the next one, he automatically gives a foul. Because he doesn't want to double up and be an absolute idiot twice. And that's what normally happens. But he gave him no choice there, I don't think. Other refs, maybe if it's a Premier Division game, he probably doesn't get sent off. And that's not being harsh. I don't want to be harsh on First Division referees. I think there's a bit more. There's one or two referees that would have said, right, well, look, that's it. No more after that. But you could argue the assistant referee could see something as well if there's no contact. But I at the way the First Division is and the way we've seen referees over the last couple of months, I can't.
You don't want to give them the opportunity.
No, you can't. You can't give them the opportunity. And Braille know that as well. You can't do
that. I suppose the game kind of huffed and puffed. Then after that, you were looking for us to try to find some sort of incisive play or whatever to cut through. It seemed like we were always just too late with a pass or something just to cut them open. Probably best chance in that second, would you say, is either Wardy's free kick, and there's the Parashef one, of course, which for me,
Parashef is still in. I still say it's a goal. I don't know. I got up off the couch. I'm sure it's in somewhere. I couldn't believe it went wide, but it's not a cut across you, but that chance was excellent.
And then Dean Ebbe's one off the line. Also before that, and that's exactly where you want Dean Ebbe. When I mentioned earlier on, he might have been outside the box a little too much, but at the end of a ball like that coming in, that's exactly where you want them. He's perfectly placed, lovely little dink ball over the top. And we started seeing Daryl when Parashef came in, Daryl started finding little pockets of space, and he'd love to dink little ball into him, and it's angled perfectly. And somehow, was it Cantwell actually came in and cleared it off the line?
Yeah,
I think it was. It's nearly as good as his goal, because there's nothing the keeper can do, because it's got the perfect flight. It's looping right over him, and Cantwell just comes in and clears it off the line. It's a really good save.
It's one of them. It's made for Dean Ebbe, and in fairness to him, you could probably argue he's a little casual with the header. I mean, you'd expect maybe a wee bit more, but at the same time, when he goes to head that ball, he can't. There's nobody on the line. No. So obviously Cantwell has read it completely and just stepped in at the right time. So he goes to head that, he thinks it's in, and you can see it's an open goal. And he just gets above. I don't know how close it is to the line. Somebody at the game might be, but it looked like it right on the line.
It looked right on it, from
nearly from under the bar. But I mean, when Dean Ebbe heads that, he's thinking it's in, because he's almost nonchalant. He almost plays it because he knows there's nobody there, and then he just appears from nowhere. It's like he appears from the crowd, and just clears it away. And then we just don't get the second ball. But it's on a play it's made from, and another day, look, he gets that 10 times a season, he scores 8 or 9 of them. It's just, I could really say he was that kind of, not relaxed, that's probably the wrong word, I mean, but he plays it so well. He thinks it's in. I think everybody does. But then Campbell just comes in and clears it off. And, it's just how's your luck, really. You've had chances. Keep Ward's free kick again, you mentioned. Excellent. Parashef, I thought. The wee kind of, I know Ward's kind of done a wee trick to go around him. I don't know if he's laying it on for himself. But Parashef, because it hits it first time, he's absolutely whipped it. If he's probably half a yard further away, it bends probably in. But that's just, you've got a bit of luck that's running out there. But the strikes are excellent. The chances are there. Like we interviewed Kieran Kilduff when they got the job, and we were mentioning goal scores and not getting goals last season. But his emphasis was on chance creation, and that's we do create chances. Maybe we're not just getting, maybe
the right chances, maybe for them.
Chance to the right people. But we are getting chances, and chance that we weren't getting last year, players shooting from outside the box, getting close. We didn't have any of that last year, so there's plenty of positives from it. But it would have been a great goal. Parashef in particular was an excellent strike. But Dean Ebbe, look, it's as far as he's concerned, I'd say as soon as he heads it, he thinks it's in.
And he's probably done everything right.
Yeah.
Look, there's plenty of comments coming in tonight. Everyone just keep your man of the match competitions coming in as well, and we will give away a pizza tonight with the good weather and all, so why not? I suppose the unfortunate thing and the sliding doors moment then, Gally, is 4 minutes after that Dean Ebbe chance. We're on the break and we're trying to work the ball in. Gaxa finds himself under a bit of pressure, kind of the ball gets pinched off him, but he tracks the player back. Makes about 20 yards up, ends up fouling him, and that free kick leads to the goal. Once again, like, it's those little things. We're in possession of the ball. We get the ball pinched. Suddenly we give away a free kick 20, 30 yards from where the original ball got stolen, and they've marched up the pitch. And with a player like Max Mata, like I did mention earlier on, you just can't give away set pieces because his delivery is excellent. So you got to nullify his opportunities to get on this. He has a shot. Cherry saves it, spills it back out, and it's a tap in. Well, not really a tap in. Like, it's a good finish, I think, as well. From Bray to go and steal it. But you're thinking, 88 minute, we're in trouble here.
Yeah, I'll correct you on the Max Mata one. It's a Murphy. But anyway, look, I know what you're saying.
Was it not? Max.
Anyway, but again, that's a player we haven't mentioned yet. Like, he was excellent. And it's frustrating. Like, I wanted to get onto the Ruby as well. I think Manus type in there, but when the Dundalk, like, when we see a break within the 10 men tonight, it's almost the emphasis grows on the Dundalk. So, like, you're in the game, you're expected to win anywhere, regardless of who you're playing at Oriel Park in the first division. But then when the team goes into 10 and you have to play them, the job for them becomes very straightforward. Like Stephen McDonald said on the comms, you're either playing 4, you're playing 5, whatever, maybe at the back, or whatever midfield, the opposite midfield. So the emphasis on the Dundalk grows then. It's more heightened. And we always seem to go for it a little bit too much, if that makes sense. I know we've drawn the game. There's never really, you don't want to be saying go for too much because you want to win. But we always seem to overhype it and overrun the ball, and maybe send an extra player forward that we shouldn't. And then, like you say, we get caught again. The ball comes right down the field. We give away the free, and everybody's kind of just, they're probably thinking, well, we've an extra man here. We can defend this, and then
but from Bray's point of view, they're thinking, with a player like Max Murphy, you're going to get something out of this. We've seen his good deliveries. This time he's having a crack himself.
He's been torn the whole night. Absolutely.
He scored a penalty. He scored enough penalties this year and stuff like that as well. But we'd just be annoyed that we already have the numerical advantage on the pitch. We've got plenty of pressure coming. Like I say, you can see a big chances coming our way here. And then we just play it into Bray's hands to give them that set piece. Like, if you're down, that's exactly what the type of free kick you want to win.
Of course.
With someone like Max Murphy, deliver it in. Yeah, he's having a shot on this, but the second ball, and that'd be another thing I suppose to be really annoyed with. We're not wise to the second ball. When that lands into the box, it's landing to a Bray player to finish off and take the lead, and then we're under serious pressure.
Yeah, and then and in the build up to that, you've had a couple of saves. They've had a half chance outside the box, a couple of saves from Cherry as well.
Yeah,
but Bray have set themselves up in a way that right, we're down to 10 men, but you now have nothing to lose. Let's go at it. And the Dundalk have unfortunately allowed them to kind of have that little bit of, I don't know if it's words momentum, but it's such a difficult thing to do to be, even have the numerical advantage can be hard because you're at home and the crowd are so expectant. Everything's heightened, but Bray are obviously thinking, right, well, we've nothing to lose here, let's go. And then they get a chance of a free kick, and because their first goals come from the free kick as well, they're obviously set up really well. They've worked at it in training, whatever it may be, but they just need that half chance, because that kind of adrenaline that you're chasing a team that's top of the league, and they've got an extra player, it kind of falls into your favour sometimes. You get that little bit of drive to keep going.
I don't think what Bray wanted to do right up to that sending off, I don't think anything changed. They were still waiting for opportunities like this, take their set pieces and use it to their advantage. And Warren pops up and, as I say, takes that second chance and puts it in the net. You're kind of looking at the clock though, Gally, and you're thinking we need something big now to come and to happen. You could still see the pressure. I still felt there was time. Suddenly starts making a couple of changes. Arubi and TJ Malloy come on for Tracy and Wardy. I think Steve McDonald might have also said on co-com tonight, he was looking for a big opportunity for Remy Arumi and hoping that was going to come tonight. He fairly took it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when he signed and we were talking in our own chat and that, and he'd hit I think he scored maybe. did he score 9 for Waterford in his time there or something like that over a couple of games? And a bit of pace and a bit of, we kind of expected him almost to be the tree himself, Kenny Ebby. But look, it hasn't gone that way. I think somebody commented that, I think it was Michael Manis, about starting him. I think he's probably overdue a start. I would agree with that. Look, again, we're talking about post-match here. It's hindsight.
But I think that's it. Like it's the couple of minutes he seems to be getting, and it's probably not. In a game when you were numerically had that advantage, you're probably looking for him to come on a little bit earlier and start stretching that game and get at tired defenders.
Yeah, because that's his game. He's quick, he's strong. But and said that, so was Owen Kenny, who didn't walk out in the first half. But there's always that bit of the unknown because you haven't seen a lot of him. He's been around the league a while, but you haven't seen a lot of him play. The Dog fans, we haven't even seen a lot of him play. He's getting a couple of minutes here, minutes there, make it a half a game. But yeah, couldn't he have come on earlier? Stevie Mack said on the thing, absolutely. I mean, I think he definitely could have come on and he could have played on the wing. Doesn't have to play up top. Yeah. Just to use it, just to stretch those defenders, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what formation they play. We still got an extra man.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm delighted for him, and you can see with the celebration, he's probably fuming. He hasn't got more time, and you're hoping that goal is giving him something because he saved the game for us. I mean, we didn't really have anything going after that. There wasn't really, I mean, yes, so we had a corner later on in the game, but
there was a couple of corners.
Delighted for him that he's got that, and especially at Oriel Park and a packed crowd, and he's definitely put something in the lads' thoughts for starting the match. I don't know why he hasn't. I don't know if it's a fitness. I don't know if it's just the way.
Well, he did put that knock, I think, in pre-season, and then suddenly, I think coming out of pre-season, it looked like Kieran had kind of settled on Ebe through the middle, Gaxa on the right. I think it was mostly in pre-season, and Owen Kenny was on the left, and it looked like Horgan was kind of in the hole. So that kind of led us into the start of the season then, and I think Arubi just found himself on the outside of those original plans, and even later on we found he moved Horgan kind of more into the into the left side of the attacking three, and suddenly Owen Kenny was over on the right. Maybe that was Arubi's chance to get in, and then Gaxa had a little bit more freedom, and then Gaxa's suspension. I think that's when you said it before. Maybe we'll see more of Arubi, and it didn't seem to click for him. But sometimes you just need a goal to remind the manager. Maybe
that's it. I mean, the boys are obviously set up to play a certain way. Well, not a certain way. I wouldn't say we're actually rigid in what we do, but I wouldn't say he doesn't fit into the plan. That's not it. It's just he obviously prefers the setup that's ahead of him. But he definitely put himself in the window now. I mean, like that momentum that you want that. Like I'd hate to think now that he might not get a run from the start, because you'd like to think you come down the court, we might want something a little bit different, something we haven't seen. Because now that like I said, those points have narrowed, which they shouldn't really be there. You'd like to see him start. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't. I don't see why he hasn't. Because look, we have Owen Kenny, but he hasn't set the roller light yet. I think he will, but he hasn't. Dean Ebby's obviously Dean Ebby. Look, I think he's, like I said it before, I don't know how he's escaped the Premier Division for so long. I've absolutely no idea.
I think
it is something like you said.
In Wales and stuff that time, maybe.
Yeah. I definitely think. Why not? I mean, he gives you that something. Yeah, like I said, when Gaxa was out, you kind of had thought, right, this is definitely going to be the chance that you can play 3 across the front, maybe. Yeah. But it just didn't happen. And look, we can't be arguing. Look, these boys are professionals. There's a reason, obviously, why they want to set up the way they have. But I don't see any harm now in definitely having a look at it. And look, maybe who knows? Maybe it is something. Maybe they notice something in the warm-up. Maybe it's something the day before they kind of change their mind. We don't know. We're only a third of the way through. But I definitely expect to see him. I'd be disappointed we're still talking here in 2 or 3 weeks and he hasn't started a match for us. Because I think it's something a little bit different. He's got everything. I mean, but all he needs is minutes. Like, there's no way. Like, he can't even be match fit. If he's not playing week in, week out, like you got to get if nothing else, the fitness level. Because if something to happen to boys, touch wood, you're going to need a player like that. And I think more minutes, I don't think it does any harm. Because I think the team we have, I think we can afford 1 or 2 up top, especially to give us something a little bit extra. And Ruby's definitely earned his place over the last couple of weeks because he's probably very frustrated. I mean, you can see the celebration after. It's more of an annoyance than anything else, I would think. He says, right, look at me, lads, this is what I can do. And because he's got in above two defenders there and nobody else got the whole night. So I don't really see any issue with it. But look,
he seemed to pick that little pocket up at the front. That you know, because it looked like every other corner we had been drilled all the way around to the back, and whether it's a recycled header that we've seen worked. Come here, we've seen it work more than once this season already, and more recently at the Longford away match. So to play one up at the front post for something different, and give Ruby something to attack was really good. Who else kind of for you tonight kind of might have put a question in there? I mean, I don't think Shane Tracy put a foot wrong tonight.
No, I mean,
Mikhail, right up to that injury, he's going to be probably really annoyed. It was probably one of the more solid displays for him, even though another position that we're probably not used to seeing him yet. You know, that injury now, it's probably done him a bit.
And I probably think when we signed Mikhail, I probably expected him to start at centre back with Mayowa. You know, Vinny Leonard's probably been a revelation. But the likes of Tracy, I mean, I think he's made his debut against Longford, has he? And I thought he was excellent at it. I think we might have given him man of the match that night. Did we? Or I did anyway. I don't know if we gave him the pizza award, but definitely gave him man of the match that night. He's done nothing wrong. Excellent midfield, especially when you're missing the likes of Harry Groom and Eve Delvin. We're forgetting them tonight as well. They're not playing, and you know we've got something. But yeah, I think I just feel that we need something. We need almost like a Keith Ward tonight was top class. You know, there's certain parts of that game tonight. It's vintage Keith Ward, and you need maybe something like that to kill games. And we just don't seem to have that little bit. You know, are we guilty of maybe being too inexperienced? I don't know. I mean, these lads have probably played more minutes than they would have definitely for your Premier Division. But Tracy, I thought was excellent. Mikhail, yeah, look, again, like I say, I would have expected him to start at man of the match. I'm after reading that mess. At the start of the match, I wouldn't have expected him to play where he played. But again, it shows the versatility of the team that the boys have put together. But you know, if we're getting back to the likes of who's impressed me, even in the few minutes he was on, a Ruby for me is definitely chomping at the bit. You know, he's raring to go. You can see, you can tell. But we've look, we can get into man of the match and stuff like that. But we're going old school. Like a lot of Wardies, a lot of Leo Gaxes, and
Sally looking for us to say to give it to a Ruby just to send a message maybe to kill her, and Ken they're looking for a change on this. Yeah, look, it's probably a share of maybe one or two, but like, to be fair, like it's one of those things again, like a couple of people thinking, well, obviously Dean Arrowsmith's gone for Chris Shields for old time's sake. But Wardy's got probably a fair whacker there. Like I say, probably rolled back the years tonight with a vintage performance. Mikhail was good right up to, you know, the time he went off, probably what we've just been mentioning there. But honourable mention for Shane Tracy, you know, so he's got a fair whack out of that then as well. Like, so it'll be hard to pick. But if you had to nail your colours to the mast,
I don't know if I've given a man of the match. I don't know if I've given a man of the match all year. I think I'd have to go for Keith Ward. Gax, I think, was excellent as well. The only thing about he's excellent in parts, and then he can go a little bit missing. But I maybe I'm just reminiscent of Keith Ward of old. I don't know, but I definitely think it could be harsh on maybe Tracy. Look, and Sean Crew's been excellent again. So I think somebody mentioned tying him down the contract. Give him a 10-year contract. I mean, this kid's like sensational.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Keith Ward, just for that wee bit of midfield,
for his little step over, his little pirouette as well. I enjoyed that one.
If Parashev finishes that goal, little ding past the shot. Look, and his ding for the goal as well. Mikhail's lead up to that. Yeah, look, it's I would just have it for Keith Ward. Yeah.
The fact that
I agree with Frank there. Parashev starting more. Yeah, look, I'd start that kid every week.
This is the problem. But then we see Parashev starts one or two games and he didn't have the impact.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, Kieran Ken must be pulling their hair out, going, you're getting different reactions.
So much ability, it's frightening. Yeah. But that's it. Whether you can get it out of him, whether you go say, right, go play 90 minutes, you know, it could be better as an impact. But I'd hate to play against him. Absolutely hate it. And like it's not even that he's that fast. He just glides across the floor. It's just crazy. He
looks effortless for him. It's always nice to watch a player like that. For myself, it's Wardy as well. As I said, I just thought he kind of rolled back the years, and it was back to one of those Wardy completely controlling the middle of the park again. It was lovely to see. I don't know.
Would be delighted after draw with Steph McKevin over the settle.
Yeah, it's another star for Wardy again, of course. So that'll ignite that argument again. I think one of the first to come in with it might have been Michael Kelly as well, and I think the fact that Michael was helping us out with a couple of calls on the red card as well, we'll give it to Michael Kelly tonight. So Michael, there is a 15-inch pizza from Tony's Pizzeria there on us. Also, hope that result comes back favourable for the Bells sometime down the line. It was first versus second tonight. It's first versus second next week.
At least they're taking, at least it's not, there's always that. Every game you're looking forward to, but now we're kind of getting into the season's really started, kind of now we're getting into it.
Exactly. So, I think tonight was the first time we've seen someone come and have a bit of a go against us, and they look really good in patches. Other times, I thought, we to be fair to the 2 goals, we probably had our own part to play in that. They handed them the free kicks in the first place, and Cove look like they're suddenly back in the stride again, and look like they're playing, good football. Plus, it's down there. This is going to be a big challenge for this unbeaten run to continue. Yeah,
that game we said it. Like we were, I don't know. We said it playing. I was talking to fans there, and they were giving me the history that the new owners and stuff, and they're really they're quietly confident that they can run Dundalk close this season. There seems to be this thing of. They seem to be this thing of they're kind of good. They expect to maybe go under the radar. I don't think they're under the radar. I think they're a very good squad.
Yeah,
but they expect to kind of ease along and kind of pick people off as they go. And the setup is excellent down there. Really, for such it's in a built-up area. Like I'd never beat the Cove until that night I was down this year. But it's the pitch and all. Whether it suits or not, it'll definitely suit them if they're playing on it. But it's going to be a real test for the boys. It's almost like a newer version of Weavers Park, if that makes sense. It's tight.
Yeah, it's tight. It's because
everything's close. Everything's close in, and it's a real kind of. I'd say it's a great atmosphere to be down at, and they'll have to work it out for them. I definitely expect goals. I definitely expect a few goals, and now what way they fall, I don't know, but I think it'll be a good game because Cove will be well. This is the game they've probably been looking for. They've been waiting to have this match down here, so. Yeah, it's a good spin down. It's a straightforward spin. So we expect a lot of fans to go down as well because it is a very. You're talking 3 hours, but it is a very straight run down the road. But yeah, it should be a good one. It should be a really cracking match, I think. Yeah, hope we haven't built it up too much now.
There is a weight of expectations, though, I think, on Cove because for the simple fact that they haven't come into this season with a small budget. They've clearly picked the best players they could from their near neighbours in Cork City, and the lads who Cork obviously thought were good enough to get promotion from the first division, but not good enough for the Premier Division. And they picked up like King Coleman, players like that, could easily have walked in. I would have thought to a definitely a bottom half Premier Division team, and yet is there a Cove? So clearly there's a there's a right bit of money knocking around. We know about the takeover anyway at the start of the season. So there is an expectation. There's an expectation that they should be up there and challenging probably ourselves, to be fair, as another one with expectations. Something's got to give. If it ends up with a similar result like tonight and their draw, that just opens the door for Bray to come back in again at both teams. It would be preferable to try to find a winner from either of those 2 teams if they want to really mount a challenge and retain or take over that number 1 spot, though, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, like we mentioned the gap a couple of weeks ago, and I think was it 7 or 8 at one stage? Might have been more. 7, yeah, 7. And now we're down to the 3, and we're at the stage of the season now where I know you talk about the business end of the season later in the year, and that's kind of where everything comes to the fore. But I think it's now I think with this, these fixtures have just put this up now, haven't they? Yeah, and that's because you've got the likes of. It was always going to be 3 or 4 teams. We expected kind of at loan to be a little bit kind of further on. We didn't really expect that kind of gap. But ourselves, Cove, Bray. After that, there's not a lot
there's not at the minute. There's not a lot happening. The gap is kind of widening. So you gotta be, look, draws are fine, but it's if you're going to draw points late, because the dog eventually will get bet. They will get bet eventually, and you don't want a wee run there to hit in, because I think Cove are still the team to watch. I know Bray have been excellent over the last couple of weeks, but we said at the start of the season, Cove for me can go into the July transfer window as well and pick off a few players if they want, whereas Bray might not be able to do that. So it's always a worry that if you can't,
quite a young Bray squad there tonight though as well. Yeah,
really young. And look, don't get me wrong, they play excellent. They're set up really well. The coaching's excellent, but whether or not they can add to that, unless they pull from the ranks, I don't know. But Cole for me can go back and again, probably maybe weekend as well. But I don't think we need to beat them, but we can't be bet, because the gap just is 3 points. It's nothing. I mean, it's a game of football, and that could be that game of football next week, and you might not recover from it. It just depends. But yeah, you gotta keep ahead of the ball, even if it's 2 or 3 points. Even if I trade tonight's draw for next week. If you get a draw,
big style,
one of them. But it should be a really cracking match. I wouldn't predict it, but I think there'll be goals. I think there will be goals. I just think it's two. They're not similar squads. I think still a better squad. But I would expect goals in here, because these Cove are going to be well up for this. Like the boys I spoke to when I went down, this was their game. This is what they wanted down there. So look, it should be a cracker.
I suppose.
Of course, it won't be now. It won't be a cracker. It'll be an absolute ball fest, because I've said that.
Come here. If it's a ball fest and we come out unbeaten or nick something out of it, we'll take it all day. I think like we've just been mentioning, there's enough players now with points to prove. It's going to be a tough decision on who's starting and who's not for Ken and Kieran. That'll be the real big question for it. I wonder, like, do you and Frank know something that I don't know?
I seen this on Twitter during the week, yeah. About a certain...
where would Ryan fit in this though?
Why?
Well, he's not getting a game at Chelsea.
Yeah, but even at that, I'd say someone lower down the league in the Premier Division would look at him, would they? Look, maybe it's probably the handy option to go back up the M1. I know Barry had commented on it underneath that he missed his mother. Look, I mean, that's it. Where do you where do you put him? Look, I mean, it's all rumour. Absolutely, you would take him in. Of course you would. Why wouldn't you? But it's such a pity he's not getting the run that we expected. I expect him to go right in there and play. It's obviously, look, maybe it's an Arubi thing. They just can't see this.
I think he was unlucky that the Tulloch come in and done so well at the end of the season and was there. So, much like his time at Dundalk, Tulloch come in and see the start in that position ahead of him. And unfortunately, he ended up being
it's such a pity. They would have expected him. Yeah, like, I mean, when the league champions come in for you,
that's the thing, isn't it?
It's such a pity, but I'd still expect him to be at that level. Maybe just needs the game time. It could be the right option. Maybe come in, get some games back, and then go back up. I don't know, but I mean, absolutely, you'd want them as a fan, like you say. Well, where do you go? Look, I mean, you got if you're going to sign someone like Ryan O'Kane back on loan, you got to fit him in somewhere. But look, that's like you'd say, Frank. It is just all rumours, I suppose. But look, you just never know. You never know. But you'd love to. I'd rather see him play there. I mean, I'm not going to lie. We're football fans, we want to see Ryan O'Kane playing at the top of the division, Premier Division. I mean, look, yes, you'd love him here for selfish reasons, but I mean, to play at the league champions, that's where you want him. Look, if we can help that in any way, absolutely.
Right. Well, look, we're coming into the wee hours. I've got some post-match interviews I meant to have edited and got out. So
with that calf as well,
and my poor calf too. And that's not the animal. Look, thanks everyone for all the comments there tonight. It's good to see them all back in. Sometimes it takes a cracker of a game just to ignite everyone back in. But look, there was plenty of interaction and everything else there tonight. Thanks as always to our sponsors, for Vinny and the lads in Tony's Pizzeria for their continued support for the Man of the Match competition, and to Mark Harlan and everyone at Black Mountain Studios as well. We definitely hope to get back with one or two things. I did see with the launch of the third jersey tonight, that's probably going to just push us back ever so slightly with our own jersey, but I know but because that's where player fit, you want to give everyone the opportunity to maximise things like that for the club and stuff like that. So we'll always be careful what we do and things like that. But yeah, we will have a new charity shirt for this year. It's a cracker. It's looking good.
Just tuck the tail out of my mouth and said it is a cracker.
It's looking good. It's definitely a rollback to first division years. So hopefully when everyone sees it, once again, we'll be making a contribution on each of the sales of those jerseys to Dundalk Village and Donald Green's work that he's doing there as well. So it's always a worthwhile cause as well. So as soon as we get the official go ahead on that, we will of course let everyone know as per usual. And just one other thing before we finish up, seeing a very fitting tribute from the Shed Side lads there tonight from Marty Callan. Obviously a massive Dundalk fan, someone I've known down through the years associated with the club, and obviously the Tala Lilywhites then as well, traveling up and down and around the country with everybody in that group as well. So it's a real sad loss to lose a real good supporter like Marty as well, and of course the passing of Peter McParland as well. Double for me as a Dundalk and a Villa fan. Not too often I get players come from one club to the other, but a real cracking player. At 16 to started, being involved in 23 games, and I got 8 goals. No wonder he got picked up very quickly and gone over England. But it's at 16 years of age to be going to a big club like Aston Villa back then. Amazing for Peter as well. So shame this week that we've lost 2 people like that of such high standings as well. I think that's us. Is that us?
That is us.
That is us. Well, look, no doubt we will be back again next week, and we'll go on for that. As I say, it's another cracker. We've just come off a roller coaster of the top 2 teams in the division going, and we're doing it all again next week. So let's hope and fingers crossed it's just as entertaining. But let's hope this time we come out with the 3 points. And until then, come on to town.
My black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white, yeah, it's black and white, we're just black and white, it's my black and white, it's my black and white.